Welcome to Pebblebrook Village. I'm Peony, and this is Trashfire Tarot for the week of June 1st. The month ahead also posted today as the first aligned with a moon day. This month, I do recommend listening to the month ahead first, as I will be referencing it at times throughout the month. I also apologize for the queer farmer look. I'm finding time to do this in between other things, and I'm comfortable. So anyways, the month of June is a high-speed mission through the skies above in our Knight of Swords fighter jet. Things are speeding up, and that feels very spot on with Gemini season, especially with Uranus adding that extra punch this time. Taurus was more slow and steady. Aries initiated, Taurus grounded, Gemini is innovating, and as we approach Cancer, she will be nurturing. Jupiter expands, Venus softens, Cancer makes it about the people, the collective. Cancer is nurture and matriarchy. Cancer is not the childish crybaby it is often reduced to. It is fearless in its advocacy and care for others, but what might all that entail with this coming Jupiter-Venus conjunction? Find out on this Wednesday's episode of Retrograde Radio, your deep cuts from the stars. All right, everybody, let's see what the skies look like for the first leg of June's daring journey through the clouds. And so our guiding star for the first week of June, June 1st, we have the Ace of Pentacles. Now this is cool. Because this is a repeat from May 11th. It was reversed then. So it's up right now, no longer reversed. This feels like progress. You know, it was reversed going into the new moon, which was a tough, I think, tough period for a lot of us. You know, I, my, I myself had some severing, unexpected severing, and an opportunity, just kind of disappeared, was no more. Tis the nature sometimes. And I know in talking to people, it was kind of a little rough spot. Um, so it's not surprised that it was necessarily reversed for what the Ace of Pentacles kind of entails. And now it shows up again, um, right after the full moon in Sagittarius, that ended the month of May and our Plutonian nautical journey. This is June 1st. Yesterday, May 31st, was that full moon. Full moon has not happened yet where I am. I am time traveling here. I am starting to lose track of time as I'm recording these in retrograde radio at different iterations. So I'm like, wait, when is it? Um, but yeah, so by the time you're listening to this, the full moon will have happened. Um, and the full moon likely felt like a moment of clarity for many, and that doesn't mean kind or soft, but there is was likely a clarifying moment. It is sort of a national identity crisis in the way that it shows up in the US's Sibley chart, as Audrey described it. And I love that description. I think it's great. And I'm seeing some patterns now with some escalation where I have a fear, and we'll know by time we're listening to this, that we're going to see a um, ice activity start to escalate out of control again. It never went away. I made a post on this. I don't want to belabor this point right here because I want to focus on the Ace of Pentacles, but just in talking with the full moon and depending on what the energies might be today, let's be gentle with ourselves. There's already a lot of violence in the media from the Delaney concentration camp. It's starting to feel like vibes of January and February again. And like I said, it never went away. It just hid into the shadows and stayed there. The kidnappings have been ongoing. The violence against our immigrant brothers and sisters have kept going. It's just very on point for, the US's chart having Cancer in the eighth house. And that Jupiter in there, right, that you tune into retrograde radio to see a more deep dive into this. But Jupiter expands, yes, but there's been a lot of expansion in the U.S. in terms of like homeland security and stuff like that, and the ICE violence, and while Jupiter was there, so it's not necessarily positive outright, right? Um, all right, back on track. The full moon, like I said, likely felt like a moment of clarity. Like maybe that clarity is like this never went away. It's not going away. What are we going to do about it? And even on an a personal level, there might be some feelings of that not tied to anything on a national, global, world stage. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter craves expansion. Jupiter grants abundance. And it's not like, Sky Daddy's not just raining down money on people. It doesn't work like that. Like I talked about the expansion of homeland security and the violence with ICE and everything while Jupiter was in Cancer. Well, Jupiter still is in Cancer. But anyways, Jupiter wants us to own our deeply spiritual connection to the world around us. It wants us to remember where we come from. It's not from data surveillance centers or fast food chains. It's from nature, from stardust. Jupiter expands, yes, but we need to be aligned for that expansion. And lots of times, this is where Uranus comes in. Sometimes we need a good gut punch or sudden jolt to get us out of our comfort zone. And I feel like Jupiter doesn't so much just create abundance so much as it reminds you um, of the abundance that we have. There are a great many that need to let go of an attachment to materialism and surrender to this sort of sacred protection that we have. Our worth is not represented by a bank account. Our worth is the one thing that cannot be stolen from us. It is inherent. It is sacred. Our abundance is protected. And the ace is letting us know that. And with it being right side up, this time there is some turning around with people where I feel like more and more are starting to get it. And I think that full moon was a clarifying moment. Like I said, yes, I have thoughts on what may have occurred on a national level. On a world level, there's some Sagittarius energy involved with Israel and how they are tied to the United States. So there is some Gemini Sagittarius, that axis in some key players in the atrocities across the world right now. So I could also see something happening, some expansion in what Israel is doing in Lebanon. The horrors, the genocide is just, they're just spreading it. And that's going to be a clarifying moment on one level, but even within on a personal level, like I said, that stuff aside, there could just be like a sort of aha moment with something. There's some sort of like alignment where things just start to make sense. Because there is a misalignment right now. And I like to say Saturn um teaches so that Jupiter can expand. And neither happens in a vacuum. And both can be very uncomfortable. We will not feel safe and abundant if we keep misaligning our needs with our wants. And oftentimes I feel people completely miss or even shrug off an Ace of Pentacles moment because it is asking them to take a path they hadn't considered and therefore must not be right. Or it's disruptive. We might get lost. So let's just not, right? Um, but I ask people listening, look around. Is what we are doing now currently working? Is what you're doing in your personal life, is it working? And if it's not, is change that bad? I mean, we don't know, right? It's the unknown. Um, but this is here because it's kind of giving us that invitation to dare, in a way, right? Asking us to reassess our relationship with money, capitalism, and all of that. You know, I would rather risk getting lost, taking a risk at something new, especially at this point, than to keep repeating the same toxic patterns that have led us to this moment. So let's see why the Ace of Pentacles is the guiding star for this week. We have Six of Wands. Six of Wands. Oh, a lot of stuff comes to mind with this. Healing, harmony, alignment. Alignment is big. Success. There is success in this, right? There's the wreath that is being carried on one of the wands. That's, there's victory, there's triumph, there's protection. The horse is action and initiative. The stars shining around the people are hope and renewal. This is the second decan of Leo, so there is an ambition to this. And so the guiding star is offering new material beginning. And the Six of Wands tells us why that beginning matters. And it's because the collective needs proof that renewal is possible, that it's not fantasy, that it's not toxic positivity, right? That it's not just everything is fine, just manifest harder sort of nonsense, wearing a flower crown and selling a course online. That this is rooted in something um real, and and people need proof, and something visible and something embodied, and something that says we are not only surviving the collapse of old values, of old structures, of outdated modalities, we are beginning to remember what we live for and what we need and what victory actually means. Like usually, like if there's a victory, it means something was being fought for, and that's not like with swords or stuff like that necessarily. But there was something that was being fought for, being advocated for. Um, and so why, and what out of that? What are we seeking from that victory? And if we keep fighting to keep things the same, fighting to elect people that aren't going to push things in the right direction, we are just fighting for complacency. We are just fighting for keeping our heads in the sand. And the Six of Wands is a card of success, but it is not solitary success. It is not the billionaire alone in their castle. It is not the empire taking a selfie in front of its own wreckage that it created and calling that leadership. The Six of Wands is communal recognition, and someone rides forward, yes, but the crowd matters. Leaders aren't inherently bad, but why are you leading? There's that whole trope of the reluctant leader, like, my boy Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, and other stories where that trope is a thing. But the wreath matters, the horse matters, the public witnessing matters. This is victory, is something shared, something seen, something that moves through the body of the collective. And that feels important with the Ace of Pentacles up right now. When this card appeared reversed in May, the opportunity may have existed, but the relationship to it was blocked. The seed was there, but the soil was uncertain, untilled. The collective may have been too afraid, too distracted, too attached to old definitions of stability to recognize the offering, or recognized it and still was too distracted or too afraid. And let me pause a second to say, and then that's valid. Like it's valid. We're all overwhelmed. We're exhausted. Like the thought of trying something new, the thought of putting effort into something where there is no guarantee to it, that is intimidating. That's asking a lot. Like, and the future, though, it is not built on passiveness. The way through is not in the sand. And there is hard work and sacrifice ahead. You know, my way of functioning is positive and living with joy. And I hold to that, like, throughout all of this. I never stop finding joy in your life. And we have to be serious and understand that there is work to be done. Um, but something is turning because the Ace of Pentacles comes back and reverses itself. Something is turning. The Six of Wands um notif kind of signifies that this shift matters because people need to see that choosing differently can actually lead somewhere, right? They need to see that alignment is not just spiritual homework, right? It produces movement. It produces healing. It produces visible change. Um, and this is the second decan of Leo. So, like I said, there's ambition here. Um, but it's not hollow. It's not about dominance. There is some Leo energy out in the world that certainly is hollow and about dominance, but at its core, that's not what this is. And this is the ambition to live with dignity, the ambition to be seen clearly, the ambition to restore courage after humiliation, exhaustion, or defeat. And Leo at its healthiest, is not you know, the heart is not decorative. The heart is the engine. The wreath is victory, but also protection. It suggests that um it suggests that this success is not only about achieving something, it is about preserving something sacred along the way. The horse is action and initiation, which mirrors the Ace of Pentacles. The ace opens the path, the horse begins moving down it. This is not passive abundance. This is not waiting for Jupiter to drop a golden apple into our lap while we sit there, with our hands out. This is abundance that requires participation. And the stars in this card, like I said, bring hope and renewal. They do not erase the battle that happened, the fighting, the conflict, the struggle to get to this moment. The Six of Wands carries a memory of struggle. It says success comes through challenge, not around it. Healing comes through renewal, but renewal often asks to stop worshiping the wound as an identity. There is a wound. There's a collective wound. There is generational trauma. Many of us have childhood trauma. There's a lot of grief, you know, and Chiron, as the archetype of the wounded healer, is born with a wound and receives a physical mortal wound. There's this duality of Chiron, the duality of the fact that they are part man, part horse, and there's a whole horrific, of how that happened because it was through sexual assault of a woman, and then that woman was so ashamed that she abandoned the child, and that was Chiron's first wound. And then ultimately kind of like almost a hubris of giving into impulse, and there's this kind of like symbolic of that with the moral wound that he receives and lives with for quite some time before he finally gives up his immortality so he can be free of that pain. We're not giving up our immortality, right? We don't have immortality. We are mortal. And there those wounds cannot be our identity to the point that we are so callous and shelled up and hidden behind them. Okay. Um, so why the Ace of Pentacles now? Well, because the collective is being reminded that victory is possible, but victory needs to be redefined. It's not victory as wealth or punishment or domination. Um, it's not finally being approved of by the very systems that harmed us. Those systems are never going to see us or represent us or care about us. If they were going to do that, they would have done that. If there was going to be accountability, there would have been. And victory here is alignment. It is choosing the path that restores life. It is remembering that worth is inherent, not assigned by markets or institutions or people who benefit from our shame, from our grief, from our trauma. Victory is the moment the collective begins to understand we do not have to keep proving our value to systems that were never built to recognize it. And the Six of Wands is here because the Ace of Pentacles is asking us to initiate a new relationship with abundance. And the Six of Wands says that relationship can succeed if it is rooted in courage, visibility, and shared healing. And we're not being offered a seed. We're being asked to believe that something can grow. And maybe more importantly, we are being asked to let ourselves be seen choosing to grow. All right. How do we navigate this week? Justice. Yes, as well. I was all ready to ramble and ran about justice anyways. So here we go. Buckle in. This is this is a sister card of the High Priestess, which gives us this spiritual base. Justice is not a construct of rich white men. It is a natural order that occurs to keep wounds from festering. Libra, community, equity, matriarchy, fairness, inclusivity, right? Things that those represent, that Venusian energy of Libra. And there's the crown, the authority and power here. And then that's not extractive power. That's not oppressive authority. Stars signify guidance and illumination, hope, even like renewal, like we talked about with the Six of Wands. Libra is Venus ruled, and we have that Venus Jupiter conjunction coming up. Um, and Libra Venus, Libra gets misconstrued as just kind of like all charm and conversation, and it is an air sign. We, I, Libra rising, Libra sun, Pluto, hi, me, it's me. But we can be like, and it's air energy, and there is that kind of we love conversation, right? And there is this sort of just natural charm about Libras. And it varies from Libra to Libra, just like everything varies from person to person, but there's always something there that is just charming and very Venusian, very attractive, in some way. But that's not all that Venus is. Venus is social justice. Venus is equality. Venus is, representation. Venus is queer love. Um, and legality does not trump morality. I hate using that word now because of things, but regardless, you get the point. Morality should not be sidelined because of legality. Um, well, at least it should not be. I mean, it absolutely can, and it has been, and we are seeing that unfold in real time at a rapid pace that creates this illusion, this constant storm of atrocities that the human brain and nervous system has no time to reconcile one before the other. We don't have time to reconcile one before another one is on the device that's attached to our hands. The human nervous system was not designed for this level of input. Thus it shuts down and goes into survival mode. Right. And this is part of some of that blockage of not accepting the Ace of Pentacles, not accepting that message, not accepting the change, not wanting to experience the conflict in the battle of the Six of Wands, to get to where we need to get. And because we're in this survival mode, because the world outside is too unsafe to manage. If every signal that the brain and the nervous system receives is an atrocity here, an atrocity there, unfairness here, unfairness there. This person did this evil thing and they get to stay in power. Like at some point, like it's like, well, this is the world and I'm just going to shut down and not exist in the world because I feel very not safe in this reality. Um, and that's partially by design, right? But imagine you know, imagine a person committing a historical crime on live TV on January 6th and getting away with it. Um, Someone who stole classified documents and got away with it, admitted on camera to sexually assaulting women, bragged about it, and got away with it, is mentioned in the Epstein files more than almost any other person in there. Meanwhile, states are taking away the rights of trans individuals by revoking the legality of their licenses. The highest court in the nation stripped away voting protection for black communities. Russia can invade countries with no repercussions. The US-Israel war with Iran is ongoing under the guise of stopping them from doing evil things with nukes. The US has used nuclear weapons twice. Twice. Israel refuses inspections and has never disclosed the capacity of their stockpiles. But Iran's the threat. While Israel continues to bomb the fuck out of Palestine and now Lebanon and wherever they want. The UN says it's illegal, but if it's illegal, where's the repercussions? Where are people being held accountable? None of these people, none of these countries are being held accountable. And we are made to believe that people that are pro-trans, anti-fascist, anti-American, people who are fighting for equality for all, that these are the biggest threat to this nation. I hate this government. I I don't hate the people though. And all I want is a roof over everyone's head and food on everyone's table. And somehow that makes me a fucking terrorist. So justice is about accountability. It's about holding ourselves accountable too. What are the decisions we're making? What are the sides that we are choosing? Are we weighing the scales? It's not being infallible. It's not making mistakes. I will say this in perpetuity. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes. We do it constantly. It's fine. It's beautiful. It's part of our existence, right? But are people being held accountable in the system that is imposing these laws, yet they're not enforcing them? Then they're just illusions. They're not laws. And so that's what justice wants us to remember. The justice card isn't about like, coming down hard on somebody or arresting somebody. Justice, in my opinion, is still very ACAB. It's about accountability. It's about this sacred natural order of things, and to move away from this deviation, this abhorrent misrepresentation of life that is being um put on a pedestal right now. So fun times, right? The Ten of Swords was June's clarifying energy. Now, this is where I'm going to be talking about the month ahead. And if you haven't listened to it, that's fine. But I do recommend listening to it because it'll give a synergy for the entire month. And then here we are breaking down, this week. But within that poll, the clarifier, is kind of like the summary energy of June, um, was the Ten of Swords. It was also the Ten of Swords for May. So there is this ongoing theme, and that's not surprising. And sometimes getting clarification like that is beautiful, right? Even when it's something like the Ten of Swords. Um, and it to me it tells us, looking at this week, the Ace of Pentacles is not appearing, um, in this, like, it's not like this beautiful pristine meadow with stuff growing out of it. This is aftermath kind of energy. And the Ten of Swords is the end of a mental cycle. It is the collapse of a story. The moment when denial cannot hold that roof up anymore. In a way, it's a tower moment, or it could be happening in conjunction with a tower moment, right? The tower is that kind of like sudden, abrupt change that pushes us way out of our comfort zone, something that we weren't planning on happening. And the Ten of Swords is kind of that reconciliation with it. How are we dealing with it? Is the ending of something, is the ending of mental anguish. It is the ending of grief. Um, it is the ending of toxic coping mechanisms, toxic modalities. And it can feel brutal because it often represents the point where the mind finally stops trying to negotiate with what is already over. Um, so with this pull for this week, something is ending, but something real is beginning underneath it. The Ace of Pentacles is the seed in the field after the swords have fallen. The Six of Wands is the reminder that survival can become a visible victory. And justice is the way we navigate without letting legality, spectacle, exhaustion, or institutional gaslighting replace morality. The Ten of Swords says June may feel mentally overwhelming because many, um, collective narratives are reaching their breaking point. Some illusions just can't, some lies, illusions, misinformation, you just can't hold anymore. And the old excuses are not working. The old, surely someone will stop this, comfort is not working. The mind reaches saturation. It cannot keep absorbing atrocity, contradiction, and consequence-free cruelty without eventually saying, I cannot keep pretending this makes sense. And that is where the Ace of Pentacles becomes this very sacred energy, because after the Ten of Swords, the next meaningful movement is not another argument. It is embodiment, food, shelter, money used ethically, land, care, mutual aid, material choices, what we build, what we fund, and what we refuse, what we plant. The Six of Wands then is not victory over this Ten of Swords. It is victory after admitting that Ten of Swords energy is real. This is carried over from May. So we are still carrying something extremely heavy. Okay. And in the beginning of June, we're at the start of like realizing that, and that's fine. Be gentle, be kind with yourselves, be kind with one another, hold safe space. People are hurting, people are overwhelmed, people are at their fucking breaking points. And it says we do not heal by pretending the wound is not here. We heal by refusing to let the wound become the whole story. And justice as the navigation card then becomes more important, because the Ten of Swords can tempt people into nihilism. Nothing matters. No one is accountable. Everything is rigged. Cruelty wins. Why bother? And that's partially the point. Right. There really is. We talk about the justice system. We talk about, oh, the justice system is failing. Oh, they're ignoring the Constitution. Oh, they're ignoring international law. It's bullshit. It doesn't exist. It's only there when it's convenient for the people that are in power. And right now, the people in power are showing us in real time it's not convenient to them. So they're just not going to follow it. And like I said, there's no accountability. We can't give in to that, though, because because moral order is older than legal permission. And justice says scales exist even when courts fail. Justice says imbalance creates consequences, whether institutions acknowledge it or not. It's kind of why Saturn is exalted in Libra, right? That Saturnian karma and lesson, right? So the collective is exhausted, pierced through by too much information, too much betrayal, too much evidence that the old structures are not protecting life. And so the guiding star this week, the Ace of Pentacles, new material path, a seed of sacred worth, a return to what is real. With the Six of Wands, why it explains why, because people need, like I said, visible proof that healing, alignment, and shared courage can still lead to success. And finally, justice tells us how to navigate, not by confusing law with morality, not by surrendering to numbness, but by choosing equity, accountability, and balance as spiritual forces, not just civic ideals. We have, the Venus Jupiter conjunction. It peaks around June 8th, 9th of 2026 this year, which supports abundance, harmony, beauty, moral, spiritual expansion, being part of a bigger thing, right? Jupiter expands and is expanding Venus. And it's in Cancer, which is about nurture and the people, and it's moon ruled. The Ten of Swords is not canceling hope. The swords are an ending. The ace is the seed. The Six of Wands is the first banner lifted after the ending. Injustice is the vow that what comes next cannot be built on the same. We move on, we move forward, we move ahead, we lift up, and we stop punching down. All right. That is all for this week. Pebblebrook Village is myself, Patricia Sybeck, who does her meditations, and Audrey LeRae, my co-host on Retrograde Radio. The guided meditations post the first of the month and complement the themes of the month ahead reading. We have the one for June is live, and Retrograde Radio posts every Wednesday. I love you all, and until next time, I'll see you in the stars.